Today we are looking at the latest release by PNSO, which is their Stellasaurus. And just looking at the image on the box here, this model does look very cool. So let's take a quick look at the box. You've got a nice picture of the Stellasaurus there, as well as the PNSO logo and the name of the figure there. And on the side of the box, you've got a nice image of the Stellasaurus there. And the back of the box is the same as the front. It is a little bit damaged. I did order this from AliExpress, if any of you are wondering where I do get most of my models and figures from. Usually I go through AliExpress or Everything Dinosaur is usually the two places where I go for my models and dinosaur figures. But even though the box is a little bit dented, I'm sure the model inside is perfectly fine. So let's get this opened up and we'll take a closer look at Stellasaurus. So as typical with PNSO, you do get your little information booklet which has some images of the Stellasaurus and a bit of information on the dinosaur, and we do have a nice poster of the Stellasaurus. Which does look very cool. I like the background. Here we have the Stellasaurus out of the packaging, and first impressions, I really like the colour scheme on this one with the sort of yellowish browns and splashes of darker red tones throughout the body. I do also like the striping. I also quite like the pose. This is in sort of like a proud walking pose with its head held high. We'll take a closer look at the Stellasaurus, and as always we'll start off by taking a look at the head of the Stellasaurus. We'll take a closer look at the head of Stellasaurus here, and of course the first thing that jumps out at you is that huge nasal horn. Very large horn on this dinosaur, and you can see the coloration on this is very similar to the last ceratopsians we got from PNSO. So you've got the orange, sort of orangey brown colours, almost like a clay sort of colour. Then the tip is in black, as you can see here. You do have that same coloration for the beak. And you can see a little bit inside the mouth there. The jaw isn't articulated, but the pose does have the dinosaur with its mouth slightly open. You can see some nice details in there. And I like what they've done with the eye here. So you've got a green eye with black pupil, then around that you've got this white colour, and then goes off into a little stripe down here, which looks very cool. And you've got those brow horns done in a similar colour as the beak and this horn here. And as we look at the crest, you can see they get the same coloration on the horns up at the top of the crest. And we do have some patterning on the crest. So on this side you've got these black squiggles going across. On the main crest you've got this black line with a circle, then another line going down, which looks very cool. There is a little bit of blue in there as well, which looks like a theme that PNSO are doing with their recent ceratopsians, and I do quite like it. And as we go down from the head of Stellasaurus to the neck, you can see there are some nice skin wrinkles and folds on the neck here. And you do have this sort of yellowish brown coloration on the neck, which then transitions into this red, more darker colour there, which does look a little bit more reddish. And of course you got the fine scaling by PNSO, which looks very nice on this model. You've got lovely skin wrinkles and folds going across the body here. And across the whole body of the model here, you do have these black stripes running across the model here. And then if you look down at the model from above, you have this very big black stripe going down. And if you look closely, it looks like there is some sort of detail in there. Some black squiggles going across the back of the animal here. And as we get onto the tail, you do have more striping there, and the tip of the tail, you do have that reddish tone there again. If we look underneath, you do have your cloaca there, and you can see PNSO carry on their detail on the underside of the Stellasaurus here. And you got these reddish pink tones as well on the underside. Definitely love the level of detail on this model. Very nice skin folds and wrinkles across the body, just make it look very realistic. So we'll compare Stellasaurus to some other PNSO models. Here we have Stellasaurus next to the previous release from PNSO, which is their Spiglibius. And as you can see, these two are very similar in terms of size. I think maybe the Stellasaurus is just slightly smaller. And here we have one of my favourites, the Loki Ceratops, which is definitely a lot larger than the Stellasaurus. Maybe not a huge amount larger, but definitely a bigger animal. Overall, I feel like this is another great model by PNSO, another ceratopsian to add to the collection, and a really unique one at that. I don't think we have many models available of Stellasaurus, and it's really cool that PNSO are giving us these dinosaurs that we don't really have many models or figures on the market for. I really like the coloration they went with the Stellasaurus I also quite like the pose that it's in. Looks like a sort of proud walking pose, which I quite like. So this is the third ceratopsian in a row that we've got from PNSO. So it's safe to say that it looks like they're focusing on ceratopsians at the moment, which I do quite like because I don't have many in my collection at the moment, but it is slowly starting to fill out with these PNSO releases. So we all know that PNSO usually like to stick to the same color palette for most of their models, but it's nice to see that all three of these recent releases have all been different in terms of coloration. I know the last one was a bit more dull compared to the Loki Ceratops, but this Stellasaurus is a bit more vibrant. And if you compare all three together, they're all drastically different, which is something that I really like. So I'm excited to see what they'll release next and what sort of color scheme they're going to go for. But I feel like each one of the next models they release will be a different sort of color. And I don't think we're going to see the same colors and patterns used again. Now, if I'd have to rank these three, I would say the Loki Ceratops is definitely my first pick, definitely my favorite out of the three that we have here, with the Stellasaurus being second and Spiclybius being third. But that being said, they're all amazing models. PNSO, no one can really beat their quality. And I would definitely recommend picking up this Stellasaurus. It's an awesome model. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe.